Hello everyone, welcome to PRP Coding YouTube channel. I am Raveendran Pillai. Today I am going to discuss about the keyed services in .NET 8. In this session, I shall explain about the dependency injection support for keyed services using an ASP.NET 8 minimal API. So let's start. I have created an ASP.NET 8 Web API project and it is opened in my VS Code editor. If I click on this project here, you can see that the target framework is set to .NET 8. Now, in this project, it contains a contracts folder, an enums folder, and a services folder. In the contracts folder, it contains an iSignature service interface with an abstract method named sign, which takes an input parameter of type string and it returns a string. In the services folder, it contains two classes, digital signature service and manual signature service. In digital signature service, here you can see that it has implemented the iSignature service and it is returning the digitally signed message. Similarly, the manual signature service is also implementing the iSignature service and it is returning the manually signed message. In the enums folder, it contains an enum named signature type with values digital and manual. In the program.cs, I have created a minimal API endpoint with a route API/sign. In this endpoint, I have injected the iSignature service interface and it is returning the signature service.sign with a message PRP training. At the top here, you can see that I have added the iSignature service interface as a singleton service and it is pointing to the digital signature service. Now, let me run this application and test this endpoint via Postman. Here you can see that the application is listening in port number 5000. Now, let me test this API/sign endpoint in Postman. So let me click on the Postman extension here. And here I have already created a Postman collection named keyed services with a request named sign. So let me click on that. It's loading. Here you can see it is a get method with the request URL as http localhost 5000/API/sign. So now let me go and click on the send button. And here you can see the response as digitally signed PRP training. So everything is working as expected. Okay, so let me stop this application and switch back to program.cs. Here I have added the digital signature service to the service collection. So similarly, let me go and add the manual signature service as well. So let me paste the code here and change it as manual signature service. Okay. So now let me go and run this application and test via Postman. Okay. So let me say run without debugging. Okay. Building. It's running, yeah, and it is listening to port number 5000. Let me switch to Postman here. Okay, and let me clear this response and click on the send button. This time you can see that the response is manually signed PRP training. And that is because in program.cs, when it hit the API/sign endpoint, here it will check what is the last index of iSignature service in the services collection. Here you can see that the last index of iSignature service is pointing to the manual signature service, and it will go and call the sign method of the manual signature service. That is the reason why we are seeing the output as manually signed PRP training. So now let me switch back to program.cs. This is applicable to AddScoped and AddTransient services. If you want to know more about AddSingleton, AddScoped, and AddTransient services, I highly recommend you to watch my video on Singleton, Scoped, and Transient services in ASP.NET Core. The link is shared in the description below. Okay, so let me stop this running project and add two more endpoints. Okay, so for that, let me copy this code. Paste it here, and this time I will say API/I will say dsign. So this is for digital signature. And similarly, I will have one more endpoint, and that will be msign, that is for manual signature. So what I want to do here is that, okay, when I call this endpoint, I want this iSignature service to point to the digital signature service. And when I call this API/m-sign endpoint, it needs to point to the manual signature service. Right now, if I go and run this application and test both these endpoints, both will point to the manual signature service. But From ASP.NET onwards, this can be achieved by a feature called keyed services. ASP.NET 8 now supports keyed services in dependency injection. So, what do you mean by keyed services? Keyed service is a new feature that allows us to register multiple implementations of the same type by specific keys. In this case, we need two keys. One key to identify the digital signature service and one to identify the manual signature service. So let me add the services, builder.services. And this time I'm going to use the newly added extension method for singleton, and that is add keyed singleton. And here say signature service, digital signature service, and here I need to pass a key, and this key can be an object, a string, or an enum. In our case, I have already created an enum named signature type, so I'm going to use that and say signature type dot digital. Okay, so by using this digital key, I am able to access the digital signature service. Similarly, I can add the key for the manual. So let me copy this, and the only change I need to make here is here I can say manual signature service, and I will make it as manual. Okay, so we have added the keys. By using these two keys, we can go and identify which service needs to be triggered. Now the next step is to decorate this iSignature service with a new attribute called fromkey services. So let me put a square bracket and say fromkey services. And this fromkey services is expecting a key. So here I'm going to pass the signature type dot digital. Okay. So similarly, I can decorate this fromkey services attribute for this endpoint as well for the manual service, and this time I will pass the key as manual. Okay, so now let me go and run this application and test these endpoints via Postman. Okay, so the application is running in port number 5000, so let me test these endpoints via Postman. Here you can see that I have created two requests, dsign and msign. Dsign is for digital signature, msign is for manual signature. Okay, so let me click on the D signature. Okay, it is loading. Yeah, and here you can see it is an HTTP GET method, HTTP localhost 5000/API/D-sign. So let me click on the send button. And here you can see that the output is digitally signed PRP training. So similarly, let me test the msign endpoint. Okay, it is loading. And this is also an HTTP GET method, HTTP localhost 5000/API/m-sign. Okay, so let me click on the send button. And this time you can see that the output is manually signed PRP training. Okay, so now let's understand how we are getting this digitally signed PRP training as output and manually signed PRP training as output. Okay, so let me consider this m-sign request. In this request, it is HTTP localhost 5000/API/m-sign. So when I click on the send button, okay, it will reach this API/m-sign endpoint. Okay, here it will check whether there is a iSignature service with the key signature type.manual registered in the services collection. Yes, here you can see that there is a iSignature service registered in the services collection and the key is signature type.manual. If that is the case, go and get the object of the class that implements the iSignature service, and in this case it is the manual signature service. So we will get the object of, the singleton object of the manual signature service, and in the manual signature service here you can see that the output is manually signed and whatever is the message. Here we have passed as PRP training, so it is manually signed PRP training. The same thing happens for the digital signature as well. So this is all about key dependency injection in .NET 8. If you find this video helpful, then please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and stay tuned for the next updates. Thank you.